You have 41 ships. Explain how you intend to stop 200.
Who told you the moon was unarmed?
The Keth Dominion had a word for species like humanity. Grounded. It meant a civilization that had never left its gravity well and force. Never built a real fleet. Never hardened its children into soldiers. A species still soft from centuries of peace, still dreaming of the stars instead of arming for them. The Keth had cataloged over 200 grounded species. They all ended the same way. Fleet Commander Serath stood on the bridge of the Eternal Ascendancy and studied the blue-green world rotating slowly on his display. Earth, one moon, no orbital weapons platforms on record. A small defensive fleet, 40 ships, mostly aging, clustered near the planet like a child's toys arranged around something precious. They haven't fired a single weapon in 11 years, his intelligence officer reported. Their last military engagement was internal. Their fleet hasn't run a combat drill in 8 months. Serath folded all 4 of his arms behind his back. A sleeping species, he said. He almost felt something like pity. Almost. Colonel Darankosi was standing in a field of wheat when the alert came. It was real wheat, grown in the agricultural dome on Luna Station's surface level, the part of the moon humans had always kept visible, always kept civilian. She had dirt on her boots and sunlight from a dozen UV arrays falling across her face. And for one moment, she let herself just stand there, breathing it in. Her calm buzzed. 3 short pulses. Then 3 more. She looked down at it. Then up at the dome's curved ceiling, through the transparent panels, at the stars beyond. All right, she said quietly to no one. She turned and walked toward the elevator that went down. The Keth fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a verdict being delivered. 200 warships. Not an invasion force, an execution force. The Keth did not believe in prolonged campaigns against grounded species. They believed in demonstrations. One decisive, overwhelming strike that shattered planetary defenses, occupied the high orbit, and left the species below no mathematical path to resistance. After that, the terms were simple. Submit, or watch the next volley hit something you love. They had done it 47 times. It always worked. Serath watched Earth's defensive fleet scramble into formation. 41 ships. They moved with genuine discipline. He noted that, gave it the credit it deserved, forming a shield line between his fleet and the planet. Their weapons were charging. Their pilots were brave. It changed nothing. Open a channel, he said. A human fleet commander appeared on screen. A woman, gray at her temples, jaws set like carved stone, eyes that looked at him without a single tremor of fear. Commander, Serath said, you have 41 ships. I have 200. I would like you to do the mathematics. I've done the mathematics, she said. Then you understand what happens next. I understand what you think happens next. Serath paused. He had given this speech 47 times. No one had ever answered it quite like that. You will stand down, he said more slowly, or I will begin the bombardment. Your moon first. We find that watching something close to home burn makes planetary governments more cooperative. The human commander looked at him for a long moment. Then she glanced at something off-screen, a quick look, the kind you give someone when you're checking they're ready. She turned back. You want to start with the moon, she said. Yes. Are you certain? Something cold moved through Serath's chest. A species that had never been in this position should not be asking questions like that. They should be afraid. They should be begging. Open fire on the lunar surface, he said. Forward batteries only. A warning shot. 3 particle beams crossed the void and struck the moon's surface. And the moon moved. It didn't move the way a moon moves, the slow, orbital drift of a body obeying gravity. It pivoted. The entire visible face of the moon rotated 40 degrees on a hidden axial mechanism so massive, so precisely engineered, that for 3 full seconds every sensor on every Keth warship simply refused to process what it was seeing. Because what they were seeing was impossible. The craters weren't craters. They were barrel housings. 44 of them, each one a railgun bore wide enough to swallow a Keth cruiser hull, now aligned with perfect geometric precision toward the Keth fleet. And from somewhere deep inside the moon, a sound began, not transmitted over comms, picked up by the hull sensors of every ship in Serath's fleet. A deep, rhythmic thrum that built and built like a held breath before a scream. Serath couldn't move. 60 years of warfare, 47 campaigns, and he had not once in his life felt what he felt in this moment, which was the specific, terrible sensation of understanding that you had been allowed to get here, that the entire approach had been a corridor, that the door had just closed behind him. Colonel Nkosi's voice came through on every frequency simultaneously. You wanted to start with the moon. Her voice was not angry. It was not triumphant. It was the voice of a woman reading from a document that had been written a long time ago. This is Luna Station Actual. We have been underneath this surface for 30 years. We have been building for 26. You targeted our wheat fields. A pause. We are somewhat upset about that. The 41 surface ships peeled away from their formation, not retreating, clearing the field of fire, and Luna Station fired. 44 simultaneous railgun rounds hit the Keth fleet at a combined velocity that made the particle beam Serath had just fired look like thrown stones. There was no sound in space. But on Earth, in every city, in every field of wheat, in every home where families have been gathered watching the fleet feeds with quiet, hell-breath certainty, the sky lit up. 11 Keth warships became debris in the first volley. The formation broke. 200 ships engineered for overwhelming force against a stationary target suddenly found themselves surrounded by 41 fast-attack human vessels that had been flying toward them the entire time, using the Keth fleet's own forward advance to close the distance. Serath watched his tactical display dissolve from a victory map into something he had no framework to process. He had come to deliver a demonstration. He had received one instead. The Keth fleet ran. 161 ships, all that survived the first 12 minutes of engagement, folded into hyperspace in a retreat so uncoordinated it would be studied in Keth military academies for generations. Not as a lesson in human capability, as a lesson in assumption. Serath made it back to Keth space. He filed his report in silence, using only precise, military language, stripping every word of the thing that lived underneath it. But the thing was still there. It would always be there now. 30 years. They had been building for 30 years. Underneath a surface that showed the galaxy freely, openly, without a single defensive satellite to suggest they had anything worth hiding. The greatest weapons platform in known space, disguised as a quiet moon. The greatest ambush in recorded warfare, baited with 41 aging ships and a commander who answered arrogance with questions instead of fear. He thought about her face on the screen, the steadiness of it. He thought about the wheat fields. Dara Nkosi stood on Luna Station's surface level again, 3 days after the battle. The dome had taken some structural damage in the firing sequence. A few of the UV panels were cracked. The wheat had been knocked flat by the vibration. She crouched down and picked up a single bent stalk. Ensign Torres came to stand beside her. 23 years old. His first real engagement. They thought we couldn't fight, he said. Dara turned the wheat stalk in her fingers. She looked at the stars through the cracked dome, at the place in the sky where 200 ships had been and now were not. They thought we hadn't been, she said. She stood up. Let the wheat stalk fall. There's a difference, and now they know it.